Good evening, parents and carers. It's really, really lovely to see parents and carers back in school after the 2 COVID years. I have to tell you, there's been some really special moments since we started back in September. Really small things. Probably the biggest thing for me is I was stood in a hub area and students were moving around the building. I know that sounds ridiculous, but students are actually moving around the building rather than being bubbled for the first time in 12 months. It was just lovely to see, and it's really, really great to see the building tonight. Ms Clark, Head of Key Stage 3, and Mr Day, Head of Year 7, will be talking to you. But I also want to just make it up entirely to you, because some of you have got older children in school, but I'm conscious that you've never seen the building, some of you, and you've sent your children to us and entrusted their education into our hands. So if you're interested, when Ms Clark and Mr Day's finished in about half an hour's time, we reckon we can sway into about 4 groups of colleagues who've got in school. If you'd like just a quick look around the school to show you some of the building, we're quite happy to do that. We think it'll probably take about 30 minutes. If you're not comfortable without it, if you've got a race for you to get home, absolutely fine. But if there's an offer there, if you want to just have a chance. So I'll come back at the end in about half an hour's time. If you want just a chance to see some of the building, some of the classrooms, we'll be able to offer you, and hopefully that'll be helpful to you. But thank you again for your attendance this evening, and hopefully I'll be able to show some of you around later on as well. Thank you. Okay.
Cheers, thank you, Mr. Hewitt. Good evening, everyone. Can I just reiterate what Mr. Hewitt said? It is amazing to stand. Well, it's quite scary as well, to stand in front of people after 18 months when you're not used to it. We are recording the meeting as well for people who would prefer to see it like that. So apologies, it's going to be that big. Is that going to be okay when you see it at the back? So this is hybrid learning. But it's lovely to see you all. So just got a couple of pictures up there. That was the one at the top, is the first one we took when they came into assembly. They were all quite scared and they walked in a little bit nervous. You got that one, and you got a picture of them in the street. They've mentioned having lunch, so they have an area in school that is solely for them to sit. They're allowed to freely mix with other people that are on lunchtime at the same time, but that's kind of like their area where they sit for lunch. So just some little snippets like that, I know can be quite important just to kind of like see what's going on in school. So like we said, we're only going to take your time for 30 minutes just to reiterate a few key messages. I can see some familiar faces that I've known for quite a few years, and welcome back to the start of Key Stage 3, and I can see quite a lot of faces that are quite new to the school as well, and welcome to the Joseph Primary School. It is going to be a real pleasure to work with you over myself for the next 3 years, and then obviously in the school hopefully for the next 5 or 7 years is what we hope that you leave us at the end of sixth form. So that's the key areas we're just going to quickly whiz through this evening, just some key points, and in particular for the Key Stage 3 and Year 7 information evening, points that will just make that day-to-day understanding of what's going on, and to create lifelong learners and learners that are ready to get the best possible progress that they can at Key Stage 4 and Key Stage 5. So we're going to go through those points. Apologies if it's kind of just ticking boxes. Yeah, we're doing that. That's great. And again, if you've got any questions or anything like that, just let us know at the end of the evening. So I think Mr. Hewitt kind of introduced himself, and probably seen my picture quite a lot anyway, or the terrible accent on the voices on the transition website and stuff. But my name's Mrs. Clark, so I look after Key Stage 3. So Key Stage 3 in our school is Year 7, 8 and 9, and then I'm also kind of the key liaison person for our primary schools, so particularly our 6 main feeder ones. So that's kind of my responsibility. And you've got Mr. Day as well, who is your progress leader in Year 7 and Key Stage 3. I would definitely say he worked there for one of the best progress leaders in the school. Every single Year 7 that is here already is absolutely fantastic. We're extremely lucky to have him as your progress leader. I know a lot of you have spoken to him already, and he'll be speaking to you about a few things. And then obviously Mr. DeCaro is our Year 7 manager. So Mr. DeCaro is a non-teaching member of staff who is your point of call throughout the day. So if you need to speak to someone, or if there's matters that need resolving, where obviously myself and Mr. Day have a timetable that we teach, Mr. DeCaro doesn't, so he can support Mr. Day and myself with those day-to-day run-ins. And he's again a fantastic member of staff. We're really lucky to have him working on the Year 7 team. So before I pass across to Mr. Day, I'm just going to go through a few little bits about communication. I think definitely for me over COVID, and I said this to the staff on the training day as well, one thing I did kind of realise when I was teaching from many different spaces and to a computer and stuff like that, is that transparency in communication and understanding what's going on is one of the key things that, one, makes our students really, really comfortable and allows them to make the best possible progress that they can, and two, allows our families at home to understand what's going on so that they can support a lot more. And that's something that really hit home for me when we were working under those tremendous circumstances. We have a parental app, which I know most of you have got, WeDuck. You can have it on your phone, you can have it just on a laptop just to log into, and that's our main form of communication to you. So when we send out our letters, when we send out our reports, it will go through WeDuck. You can access letters and things on the website as well, but you will get, particularly the reports, the day of the report, it is on your parent portal on WeDuck. It's also your way that you can see the red and green comments, which Mr. Day will get to, but it really is a really important tool to get that communication going both ways. So if you haven't already downloaded the WeDuck app, or you haven't had a look at it on your laptop or on your tablet or something like that, please do make sure that you have got that login. If there's any issues at all, just contact the office and they can get you sorted if you're still not quite sure with what you're doing. But I do really, really recommend that you use that. It will also give you the access to parent pay when you need to pay for things. You can also kind of like see what they're getting for their lunch and stuff like that. You've got a timetable. There's lots of things that you can use with that. So I highly recommend that you use that as your main form of communication. We also have the website. There is the Key Stage 3 page, which I'll get to in a minute, and the transition page, which has a lot of information, the student guide that Mr. Day will mention as well. And then we have our social media platforms. So if you're an Instagrammer, I'm afraid I'm not, apologies. But there is a tool on there as well that is updated, and also our Twitter feed as well is updated. But WeDuck is the main one. So if you've got the news feed for all the different pieces of information and things like that, and the notices, I can't recommend enough that you get yourself sorted on that, because it is a really, really positive tool. Right, I'll pass across to you, Mr. Day.
Thanks so much. Yeah. Evening, ladies and gents. It's thank you. It's lovely to see you all back in again, and yeah, it was very nice, but it was quite strange doing that first assembly that Ms. Clark pitched at the start. There it was sort of the first assembly with students filling the hall we've had in a couple of years, and I think for as nervous as the Year 7s were coming in, I was probably about as nervous as well. So, but I have to say, I've really enjoyed the first couple of weeks and getting to know these Year 7s, given everything they've had to overcome over the last, well, certainly more than any other Year 7 group in terms of their transition and the sort of the onlineness of it, and the difficulties therein, the way they have come into school, got on with their business. They've just been fantastic so far, and I can't praise them highly enough. They've done really, really well, all things considered. So I'm going to talk to you about a few areas, for starting with the positive and negative stamps. Stamps might seem like a bit of a strange word. It did originally start off as stamps in the planner, but as things have moved along, they are now solely put online by staff for you to see on the WeDuck app. And they are essentially the basis for our rewards and sanctions in school. I don't need to explain what the thumbs up and the thumbs down mean, but lesson referrals, there is another one. Lesson referrals, we encourage staff to issue about one lesson referral per 10 students in their class each lesson, and that is just to the 2 or 3 students in that lesson who have performed the best, who have been outstanding to that member of staff in that particular lesson. From that, we have certain rewards. For example, tomorrow happens to be our first reward lunch for lesson referrals. So we've got 20 Year 7s coming up at lunchtime tomorrow to enjoy any Domino's pizza that I don't manage to eat before they get there. So that's what the lesson referrals for. You'll be able to see all of that information on the WeDuck app live on a daily basis. And actually, just to demonstrate what an excellent start they have made, there you can see the pie chart of positive to negative stamps so far in the last couple of weeks. It's about 98% positive for Year 7. They really have made a really terrific start and impressed a lot of staff who I've been going around talking. There's a lot of names that have been dropped to me, just how impressed they've been with those people. But in general, as you can see, it's been a terrific start from Year 7 so far. Okay, so expectations. Now, I'm going to talk about a few areas of expectations. If you want to read about all of this, then you can find the student guide that's on the school website if you need any more detail about anything. But firstly, in terms of uniform, I have to say thank you so much. The Year 7s have been very well turned out so far. Their top buns always done up. There's a few of them that maybe need reminding that the shirts need to be tucked in. And actually, a lot of the uniform issues, as I'm sure you can probably imagine, that we encounter tend to be post-PE because...
it is quite funny at the moment.
Yes, there's been shirts on inside out and buttons missed. So, I have to say, I don't think I have ever tied so many ties in a 2-week period. It's problem is I can't do it on somebody else. I have to do it on myself. But anyway, it's a bit of a rigmarole. But anyway, so if from my point of view, it would help obviously if they were to practice doing their tie a little bit, but especially so that after PE, if something does go wrong and they don't loosen the knot enough to get it over their head, or somebody pulls on it or something, that they are able to retie it for themselves, that would be terrific, just to save my hands. But as I say, they've been terrifically well turned out. If you do have any, if you're not sure about anything when it comes to buying uniform, that you can't tell from the school website whether or not it's an appropriate piece of uniform, then feel free to get in touch with me or Mr. Zacaro. Send a picture in of what it is that you're planning on getting, and we'll say, just so as you don't have to go through the situation of taking things back or on that sort of thing. In terms of getting to school, 8:45 is the time when the students are required to be informed. So if you could make sure that they're on time. They start coming into the building from past. But if there's any issues with it, then if there's any extenuating circumstances, then please do call in and let us know. It tends to mean that the students are able to avoid a late mark if there are. Otherwise, that would be, and the late marks again contribute to the positive and negative comments that go on the system. I'm going to, in terms of expectations in the classroom, I'm going to just move on at this point because actually, I think from my perspective, this is possibly the most important thing. It certainly has an enormous impact, and you see it on a yearly basis, particularly in Key Stage 3. The students that come from primary school with the right attitude spot on, go into classrooms, get their heads down, get ready to work, hands up asking questions, getting involved in things both in the classroom and extracurricularly. Those are the students that really get the best out of life at the school. We have a terrific extracurricular offering in terms of PE, in terms of Miss Clark and all the vaudeville things that go on. So please do encourage them to get involved in that. But I suppose it goes without saying that the students' attitude in lessons is paramount to the progress that they're able to make. The more engaged they are, the more questions they ask, the more they throw into it, then the better they are going to do. You will periodically get reports from the school which involve a attitude to learning score and a independent learning grade. Now, there are 5 categories for each. If you wish to see the full explanation, then they are in the planners for each category. So when you get a report and you want to make sense of what these numbers mean, then you can find the descriptors in here. The descriptors might also be on the report, I think.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So you'll be able to see it's relatively straightforward. But suffice to say, 5 being outstanding is students who are always engaged in lessons, are making contributions to those lessons, who never cause any form of disruption, and are generally terrific in their classroom setting. And the independent learning grade is somewhat different in terms of it pertains to what a sort of homework, how willing students are to act on feedback that they're given from staff, whether or not they take that and then are motivated enough to try and further things for themselves outside the classroom. Now, that's obviously going to be with the support of us in school, but all of those things contribute towards the attitude to learning of the students and the independent learning grade, which you will see as a constant line throughout their secondary education with us in Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4. And then, I think I've garbled through that.
Yeah.
So it's back to you, Miss.
We're doing a swap. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about curriculum and reports and assessment, just to give you kind of like a basis. So you should have received today on Reduc, hopefully, the curriculum summary for this half term. So you'll get one every, next slide actually, every half term. We try to send to you just an overview so you are aware of what is happening in the classroom. It gets a little bit tricky with rotation and things like that, so you'll have seen the design one, so ask your child which rotation they're actually doing. But we're trying to kind of like, again, build that communication so you are aware of what is happening in the classroom. Any key dates that there are in that half term, if there are any, for your year group, and anything we want you to be aware of. And we'll aim to get that to you in the first full or second full week of each half term, so you are aware of what's going on in the classroom. You can also go onto the school website, and if you go to the subjects area on the school website and click the subject, it has individual videos explaining both what happens in the sixth form, then it goes down to Key Stage 4, and then Key Stage 3 is at the bottom. I'm afraid my technology wouldn't let me do a picture that shows you the Key Stage 3 bit, but there's all of the information as well on our website to explain what happens in those subject areas. And if you're interested in kind of like how each subject moves on into Key Stage 4 and the exam courses that we do, that is clearly explained to you at that point as well. I need to go back to that bit, don't I? There. No, I'm okay there. Okay, so that brings me on to Google Classroom. Now, we are a Google school, and if you have older students in the school, you'll be aware that that's what we use as our method of teaching and delivery over lockdown, and it is something that we continue to use. Homeworks will be set on Google Classroom. They might not necessarily have to be completed on Google Classroom, but it is our school policy that the homework is written in the planner, but also that the teacher puts it onto Google Classroom. Mr. Day has mentioned about independent learners. Attitude to learning, yes, students arrive kind of like from primary school, but independent learning is definitely a skill that we have to build upon in Key Stage 3 in preparation for that Key Stage 4. My key aim is that when year 9 move into year 10 and I speak to them about what their courses are like, they don't go, oh, it's really hard, I've got loads more homework. It's building up those skills so that they are ready for those courses to get the best possible grades at the end of year 11. That is our ideal. But that does have to be built upon. So homework is massively important. Independent learning is massively important, and that's why we kind of use that Google Classroom. Now, if you've been on Google Classroom, you might as well have received emails from staff as well on that Google Classroom. There is a Guardian summary. We don't use that. That is a Google thing that we only found out about in lockdown. It was quite shocking the first week of lockdown. So the Guardian summary that is offered to you in that Google Classroom, we've had that. That isn't something that is a school policy, so that won't tell you anything from the school. That information is not accurate. When you open up your Google Classroom, if you're opening up at home, the person who is logged onto the computer, and apologies if I'm speaking to people who know exactly what they're doing, but I'm just making sure everybody is aware, you need to be logged out. So if you are logged into your user home PC, for example, you have to log yourself out so that the student can log themselves in. Every student username for Google Classroom and for the logins in school is their first name, surname, and then at jerseyboundaryschool.co.uk. And they should know their password. Passwords have been set. Now, that is something that we need your help with, ladies and gentlemen, with passwords. We are having a real issue at the moment with students remembering their passwords. We can't tell students to write them down, because obviously you don't write passwords down or anything like that. We just have to ask them to think carefully about how they can remember that password. Our passwords have to be eight individual characters long. There has to be a capital letter, and there has to be a number in there, and it cannot just be their name. All right, it will not allow them to do that. But we have to build up, again, this responsibility, this ownership, this independent learning, that they have to remember their password. Okay, we are supporting at the moment, but in a few weeks' time, we are going to have to be like, look, we need to get this sorted. I'll keep you updated on Reduc as to how we get on. So they would log in like that. If you look on Google Classroom, the codes for each subject is basically the first two letters of the subject. So if you're looking for English, it's EN. If you're looking for science, SC. If you're looking for music, MU. Okay? So that's your codes on Google Classroom when you're looking for the actual work. And then Don't worry about it. It's fine. I would normally go and play the piano along with you. It's so you'll be able to see the work on there as well, and students can access it. Now, we do appreciate that at home it might be really busy, and you might have 2 or 3 people that are needing to use the resources at home. You yourself might be working from home. We do know that there are issues with that. That is why we offer our homework club on a Monday to Thursday every single evening until 4 o'clock. It is not obligatory at the moment. We will be bringing systems in place and students get a lot of red comments for homework. You will be informed, and we will ask that they attend at least once a week, and that will happen halfway through this half term. But anybody can go along. It's a really supportive environment. It's in the library. There's access to Google Classroom. There's access to our learning support teachers who can help them with their homework. And that's every single evening up to 4 o'clock, apart from Friday. We don't seem to get much uptake on a Friday. I don't know why. But if you think that that would be a better way for your child to kind of like develop their independent learning and to complete that homework, because the homework is going to be on Google Classroom, everybody is more than welcome to attend that homework club, and I know some people already are. So that is on a Monday and Thursday. The duration of the homework should be in the planner as well. If you feel that a homework, a student has taken a really, really long time and it shouldn't be that much, there should be something in there saying that it should be 25 minutes or 20 minutes. Do feel free to write in the planner if you feel that they've spent like excessive amount of time, that it shouldn't be excessive amount of time that they're spending on these independent learning tasks. And our homework policy is on the website as well if you want to have a look at it. So literacy and numeracy, they're kind of like our key aims at Key Stage 3. Every Key Stage 3 student should have a reading book in their bags at all times. It should ideally be their star reader or their accelerated reading book that they use in library lessons. But if that has not been established as yet, because I know there's still a couple of library lessons to go in the next few days, it can just be a free reader or the summer reader book that we gave out as well. But everybody does have to have a reading book in their bags at all times. It is one of the school priorities. We expect students to complete at least 45 minutes of reading, either their accelerated reading book or free reader every week in their free time. They have 1 library lesson a fortnight where they have the opportunity to exchange their books and take part in the accelerated reader programme and to assess their reading ages. But within that as well, within their own free time, 45 minutes across the week is what we advise for reading across Key Stage 3. For numeracy as well, they will have username and passwords that are building up in Hegarty Maths, in Sumdog, and I know the Spell Zone ones have got in the planner as well. So they're platforms that we use in school to develop those numeracy and those spelling skills as well. So they're kind of like the things that we expect all of our students in Key Stage, in Year 7 in particular, and then moving on to Key Stage 3 in Year 8 and 9 to be looking at least every week. But I do emphasise, well, Mr. Dale emphasised maths, but I'll emphasise the reading. The reading is really, really important. We are getting, by the end of this week, everybody will have had a library lesson, and then it really will be that the expectation is that that reading book is there and in the bag ready to use. Every single English lesson does start with 10 minutes of reading, so the students will get used to that. So very quickly, our assessment model. So when we get our assessments, that's what basically informs our reporting system. Now, what normally happens in a normal year is that we get national data, so Key Stage 2 data from the primary schools. You'll be totally aware that the SATs didn't happen this year, nor did they the previous year. But what the normal process is that we get that national data, and then when students arrive at secondary school, we then do our own data formation, and that's called the CATS test. And you'll have had a letter from me last week to say that students have completed that. These are aptitude tests, they couldn't revise them or anything like that, but it gives us really good information about how their brains work and how we can support them. And the data from that is a national model, and it is really, really accurate in predicting what those target grades will probably be from the national data. We normally combine those 2 pieces of data with other baselines that we do in subjects. So the accelerated reader programme with the reading ages, and the maths testing that gives a maths age as well, and we triangulate all our data. So we never take one piece of data as concrete as that is the evidence we're going to use. We always put it together with at least 2 other pieces of information to inform our judgments. What we don't have any control over is the national data. So the Key Stage 2 SATs data, and that informs what the DFE expects us to add as progression to that student by the end of Year 11. So we don't have any control over that. Now, as you're aware, there is no national data for this year, and there was no national data for last year. And they haven't told us as yet what is going to happen at year 11, where they will kind of like say how much progress has been given to the students, or in fact what they're expecting for targets for those students, what they expect those students, based on their Key Stage 2 information, what they expect them to be capable of achieving. So we don't know yet what they're going to do. But what all schools have done is they've still kept hold of the CATS testing. So every single school in York, all the heads made an agreement that that CATS testing would be that baseline. So we don't have national data. We have some kind of like moderated data from primary schools. Some of it was in different formats. So that one pinpoint that we've got is that CATS data that we will use. Now we are going to put that with our other baselines in our subject areas, and that helps us formulate what we think will be those target grades at the end of year 11, so that we can help those students with their progress. In Key Stage 3, we have our foundation subjects, which is your history, your geography, your RS, your MFL, and that is a 3-year course for Key Stage 3. We have a 3-year course for English, a 2-year course for science, and 2 years for maths, and 2 years for RS. That's because in year 9, because of the sheer content in the maths and in the science, they have to start the content delivery in year 9. RS, we actually examine in year 10. So they'll take the GCSE RS exam at the end of year 10. So that course starts in year 9 as well. But for all the other subjects, it is a 3-year course at Key Stage 3. And then that leads on to the Key Stage 4 and the options process moving into year 10. So how does that affect our assessments? So at the end of each topic, each student will do an assessment. They'll also have done a midpoint assessment with their teachers as well, so that they understand what level they are, okay, and how they can progress to make the best possible progress at the end of that level. Now, we use 5 criteria to assess where those students are. So you might be aware in Key Stage 3 that there are no kind of like numerical values now for assessing pupil progress. So our 5 levels, we are looking for students to make expected progress at that middle level. So if a student is working the best they possibly can and making the best progress in line with where they started from Key Stage 2 up to where we are expecting them to achieve at the end of year 11, that would be an assessment of expected progress. In some areas of subjects, it might be that they're really good at that subject, or it's a one area of that subject, so say it's Gothic genre in English or something like that, that they really have a real flair for and a real skill. So above that expected progress, we give them 2 more assessment levels where they can show even more skill and depth in their understanding and their progress. But when you get your report, you are looking for your student to be making expected progress. If it's above that, that's even better. But that middle line is expected progress. Now, all year 7 students will be explained to them, that report and how that works, and it's reiterated every term so that students are aware of what they are working for. The good thing about this assessment process in Key Stage 3 is that every student that arrives with us starts at a different point. You won't even get 2 students together that will start at exactly the same point in their learning when they come to us at the start of year 7. So with this assessment model that we have, we can really, really personalise their progress. So we can give them criteria that they are working towards, where they know that if they can reach that criteria, they are making expected progress to where we expect them to be by the end of year 11. If they can get above that, even better. Now, we do need to discuss kind of like the working towards expected progress as well. When you get your report, it is a pinpoint of a moment in time. Now, it might be, I'm going to take music as an example because I am a music teacher. It might be that the topic they've been doing that half term is African drumming. And maybe they are not the best African drummer in the world. They find it quite tricky. All right? So it might be that for that assessment criteria, they reach the working towards expected progress. And that's a conversation you need to have. But with your curriculum summary and with your report, you'll be able to have that conversation. It might be that the next project that they're doing in year 7 is keyboards and notation, and they have a real flair for that and they do really, really well. So for that one, it will be that they're making expected progress or more than expected progress. So those assessment criteria will move across Key Stage 3. What you need to be confident in is that the teachers that are making those judgments have very clear assessment criteria, the students are aware of that assessment criteria, and they know what they need to do to make further progress. Now, I know I talk really quick. All right, yeah. But that is all on the website, and it is all on a video as well, where I consciously try to talk really slow, okay? Albeit with a Hull accent, but really slow. So it is all there as well. You also get it on your report when it comes to the explanation there. That brings me to learning support. All right. So I know some people were speaking to Mrs. Jones outside just now. Mrs. Jones is our Senka in the school. There are some students that just need just that little bit extra help and support, particularly when they arrive at secondary school. This is a big school. It can feel really, really daunting when you first start. It is massively supportive, and it's a really nice environment when you're walking around. But we have 3 waves of intervention. All schools have 3 waves of intervention. Wave 1 is basically the classroom. We have fantastic teaching and learning, and we make sure that what happens in the classroom is absolutely spot on. That's your fundamental aim and support for students. The second wave of intervention is when we give that little bit of extra support, for example, with guided reading or with spell zone. So some students will join Mrs. Harden to just really support with that spell zone in 1 or 2 form times a fortnight. And then the final wave of intervention for those students we identify just need that little bit extra help in year 7 is that they will be given small intervention groups of English and maths, where they will work in a group of no more than 5 people with a teacher to work on those specific areas that we have identified they need support in. So it might be numeracy, it might be shape and space or data handling, but very specific interventions that happen, and they are in their actual timetabled lessons. Now, if you have any further kind of like questions or about that learning support that are not answered fully, and I know we've spoken to most parents already regarding that, always feel free to contact the main office, ask for it to be forwarded to Mrs. Jones or myself or Mr. Day, and we can get in contact with you to explain what we are doing. That leads me to Mr. Day and his key dates. We're nearly there, folks, I promise.
Yes, not long. I know from personal experience just how uncomfortable those seats can be, so I won't be too long.
And also Bake Off is starting tonight.
And Bake Off. Up on the board, as you can see, are some of the key dates that you can expect for contact from us in school. Parents' evening there in bold on the 25th of November, and you can see also the other 2 report dates that you can expect reports to come out via the WeDuck app. All I would say here, ladies and gents, is if you have, please don't wait till parents' evening. If you have any concerns or questions, obviously it's relatively early compared to when some of the other parents' evenings are in the year groups, just as you get some idea of just how your sons and daughters have started. But please don't wait. If you do have any concerns, any queries, you want any more information about something, then please don't hesitate to get in touch with us. I will endeavour to get back to you the same day if you do contact about anything at all. So please let us know if you need anything. Later on, the 19th and 20th there's the concert, and then of course the rite of passage for many that unfortunately the last couple of year 7s have missed out on, the residential trip in the summer term, which I'm looking forward to. I'm a couple of days away with these lot with bushcraft. Brilliant. You'll be there too, won't you, Miss? No chance. Anyway, so yes, report dates are up there. But like I say, any concerns or issues, then please do get in touch with me. And I will endeavour to help in any way that I can.
Cool. Right, we've just got one final slide, and it is just to say, really, just thank you so much for the last couple of weeks. I know it's been really daunting, a new experience for everyone. I'm sure you've had that sick feeling in your stomach as they've been from school, wondering if they're okay. So just thank you very much for your support. You will be aware that we've got our open evening for our next transition lot next week. I do ask if you've got any comments about how this last 2 weeks has gone, both positive and negative. And if you'd like to contact school on our email address, you can address it to myself or just information from open evening will get to me. But if you do have any quotes or comments or how any recommendations or advice as to how we can improve, please do send us an email over the next couple of days so that we can act upon that. As I said, both positive and negative. The key thing is that communication, keep in touch at all times. That's it from us. It will be on the website as well if you want to go over stuff.